Hi, guys, welcome back. And today we'll be discussing the recent controversy regarding Trey Songz. So, on some podcasts, two women who are known to finagle with NBA players and things of that nature, they were on a podcast, and one of them was talking about an experience that she had with Trey Songz, where he took her phone uh, for days of they were having their together sex time. He took their phone. He was controlling. He she was listing all like the weird sex things that he was into, and it sparked kind of a backlash on the internet um, because people recognize it as a little bit controlling and dangerous and things of that nature. And it brings me back personally to a while ago where Kiki
Wait, time
Palmer.
out, time out, time out. I just want to say some of the things that they said in the video because I just watched it. But so the girl, one of the girls, well, they're two friends. They be in. That's their scene, right? That's their scene.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was talking about how the friend who was also on the podcast with her said that she went through those same experiences as the other friend, but the main friend was the one talking, and she was saying that um she wouldn't tell him. I mean, he wouldn't tell her when she could leave. He took her phone, held her phone over like a balcony, and was like, "If you leave, I'm gonna drop this." Tell her phone and her purse over the balcony.
Wouldn't even time it was.
Yeah, wouldn't tell her what time it was. Said that she could leave when he went to his flight, but he wouldn't tell her when that was. And then at one point he told her to get into the bathtub, and he literally like started peeing on her, and like she did not consent to like the pee or anything. She didn't seem that bothered by it, but she didn't really like. She said that like he didn't ask, and she was like, "Whoa, like why?" She was like, "Not on my lashes." That's what she said. Not on my lashes. And he said, "You'll be okay." And she was like, "Okay, lit." That was her actual response. So, but go ahead, Travis.
Oh, it just reminded me of a few years ago when Kiki Palmer spoke about a similar situation with her and Trey Songz, and there was a slew of just disbelief towards her. There is one particular moment I do want to highlight because it's edged in my mind of how she went on Wendy Williams' show, and Wendy Williams was trying to kind of gaslight her in a way. And I respect Kiki so much because I felt like she handled it with grace, she handled it with civility, but it just made me think of once again us not believing black women. But when black woman says something, no one listens, no one takes it into account, no one whatever. But when a white woman or a woman with a lighter complexion says the same thing, it's a news story. It's a controversy, and that's kind of where we're at now. The people in those videos were of a lighter skin complexion. Um,
Wait,
yeah.
can you say whose individuals' names or what's the name of this podcast for a reference?
I can look for
it
it.
out.
Give me one
I want
second.
to say it's called No Jumper.
It's called No Jumper. I don't know the girls' names though.
For our viewers, we will edit in a clip of the podcast.
Okay.
If that is
Travis will edit it in.
if it's permitted, copyright issues.
They'll be all right.
Yeah. Well, this is for what is it? This is the educational clause that it should be allowed or whatever. Fair use.
We love educated people. Yes, we do.
But
Wait,
we'll
so
see how
what
that.
did Kiki Palmer say?
So, if you guys don't mind, so Kiki Palmer went on the Wendy Williams show, and she said that I think she was around Trey Songz and like a bunch of other people. I think they were filming like a music video, and Kiki said the same thing about he took her phone. And also she felt the need to hide in a closet at one point, because she like, I don't know if he was like wilding out or something like that, but just the sheer fact that she felt the need to like hide from this man should have been enough for everybody to be like, all right, like F this, like I'm never working with Trey Songz, like I'm never speaking to this dude, like he's obviously crazy. But she knew that this was gonna happen because she went on the Breakfast Club. By the way, we should abolish the Breakfast Club. But she went
in the shade room.
She went.
They're messy, and they are not necessarily for the uplifting of Black people, more for the downfall, and just like exposing us for like the worst parts of our culture and our people.
They're here for the drama, the clicks, the publicity, just all of the worst qualities of any kind of media. But she went on the Breakfast Club and she was saying the same thing about she knew that it had a white woman or a woman with a lighter complexion said the same things that she was saying, came forth with the same claims that she had in the very same manner that she did publicly, then the reaction would have been totally different. There would have been an entire boycott or whatever of Trey Songz, his music, all of that. So she knew exactly what was going to happen before it happened. And now that we're actually seeing it happen, I feel like it's very interesting to like really know her take on this, because I think that people are taking these accusations like against him more seriously than they did when she made them, which, like I said, like, you know, believe Black women for real. And it shouldn't take for women with lighter skin tones to say the same thing in order for you to understand where a Black woman was coming from.
Has she said anything about, you know, after with this and like told you? Or is she like silent about it? Watching?
Not that I know of. I don't know if you guys seen anything, but this doesn't strike me as the type of situation where it's just like, you know, haha, I told you so. It's more like, see, what I.
And to be completely honest, if she were to comment now, they would villainize her. They would say she's trying to tear him down. They would, you know, the things we do when Black women speak for themselves. If she were to be like, this brings...
Let a Black woman bring up Chris Brown. All hell gonna break loose. So it'll probably be that same type of reaction for real.
Have people like been putting Trey Songz like kind of on fire, or I guess, or just kind of, I guess, have people been criticizing him, or are they just like everyone's kind of like, oh, so this actually didn't happen. Moving on.
Trey Songz actually responded, and his response was basically, you know, the allegations were baseless, and he also posted a series of screenshots of messages between him and this woman that showed absolutely nothing. It showed that they had been having conversations.
Yeah, that it didn't prove or disprove anything.
It was so unnecessary, and I was just like, this did nothing but expose the type of things that you're into sexually.
Right. Oh my god!
Which I think she offer to eat the booty like groceries.
Yeah, I do want to talk about that.
Look, and it's like, and it's no shame in that. Like, Trey, if that's what you like doing, then that's what you like doing.
Right.
But my point is, the message you was trying to get out by releasing these screenshots was not the message that I'm sure that you intended, and instead, we just know more about your private life than we should. That is.
I was trying to say one quick thing about that was just that I think at one point there was something about like not necessarily an interaction, but social media postings by Keke Palmer and Trey Songz showing like some conflict there or whatever. And I know that basically, you know, again, he was kind of like dismissing the accusations that, you know, Keke Palmer made against him, and, you know, just saying, well, I never really liked her like that anyway, this, that, and the third or whatever. But it's just kind of like she was unbothered, and I think that people were bothered by her being unbothered. Like, you know, you're just gonna let him say this kind of stuff to you on social media, this, that, and the other. You're not gonna address this, and it's just like, no, like, why should she? It's just like, you know, people, I feel like part of the problem is that, social media, like you guys were talking about with the Shade Room and the Breakfast Club, a lot of it is very divisive and is used to get a rise out of people, including celebrities, including, the victims of things themselves. And it's just like, not everything warrants a response. And I feel like that's part of the problem, is people think that, like, if someone is called out on social media, that they have to respond to it, that they have to say something to, like, either defend themselves or to, basically, like, either justify their actions or come back at the person that said something about them. And it's just like, no, like, let people, if people aren't bothered by something and they don't feel the need to say something on social media, leave it alone. At the end of the day, technically, all of this is none of our business. Like, this is something that just got out there and that people are choosing to engage in. At the end of the day, this was only between, this, like, certain group of people. And my thing is, if people don't feel the need to say something about it, even if they were victimized, whatever, then they don't. And, like, people need to leave it alone. And I feel like that's part of the problem, is that, things like the Shade Room and, the Breakfast Club, and then also other people on social media are trying to, get a response out of people that don't have anything to say. They have nothing else left to say. They're basically just like, I said what I said, and if I don't feel like saying anything more about the issue, then leave it alone. And I really think that the Shade Room and the Breakfast Club give people a platform to keep talking about this stuff. The Wendy Williams show definitely gives someone a platform to keep bringing up old drama that's, from people's past. And it's just like, leave this stuff alone. Like, if these people are no longer worried about it, then why are we worried about it? Why are other people worried about it? Like, this has nothing to do with them. It's none of your business. Leave it alone. So I definitely think that Black women fall victim to that a lot as well, is just because it's just like their past is always drugged back up and brought into matters that, that's nobody's business. And it's just like, what, and by other Black people. And it's just like, leave well enough alone. If it doesn't have nothing to do with you, drop it. And if people don't want to talk about it, leave them alone. So I definitely think that social media gives people that don't deserve a platform to bring up stuff that has nothing to do with them.
And I just want to say that so often Black men in the industry are really showing, like, who they really are, and especially ones that are viewed as sex symbols, because I feel like they think they can basically get away with anything. And so, like, when you have, like, these two women who we don't know their names, like, they, like, people were, hurling all types of insults at them, calling them groupies or whatever they want to call them. It's just like, they don't have any power compared to somebody like Trey Songz, who has the notoriety, who has a fan base, who has a following, who is known as a sex symbol. So it's easy for him to justify his actions by saying, well, nobody's going to believe you. Not saying that that's what he said, but, like, I wouldn't be surprised if that was, like, his mindset, or if he did actually say that. Because, like, it's Trey Songz. It's just like, any of us can name, like, somebody who would love to be in that position with Trey Songz, like, to love to be that intimate with him, to love to meet him and stuff like that, because he is who he is. But when you have somebody like Keke Palmer, who, like, basically that situation was like, he filmed her for a music video despite, like, her wishes, and she said that she had to hide in the closet because he was her, like, I think she described it as sexual intimidation. So she said, you basically, like, you can't try to throw food, alcohol, and a little sexual intimidation at me and expect me to bend the way you want me to bend. And I feel like so often, like, people who are in the type of position as Trey Songz, like, they think that their power, they think that their sexual prowess, and they think that their notoriety can get them whatever they want. And what I really hope, like, really comes out of this is, like, for us to be like, nah, like, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter who you look like, because had Trey Songz been looked differently, I feel like, had he been somebody who was not deemed sexy to the public eye, this would probably be different. Because, like, a lot of people's initial reaction was, oh, well, what is Trey Songz doing with her? It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, if that's what he did, like, that's what he did. Like, it doesn't matter how the other girl looks, and nobody should feel lucky to be in that type of situation anyway. So What I really hope comes from this is that people that are in his position like really understand, really get it through their head that no, you can't do that just because of who you are, because of the way you look. Like, that's not cool. Like, and we're not gonna allow that to slide.
I do.
Yeah. I just want to say that you were saying a lot about how these men in power think that they can get away with it because of everything that they have going for them. And they think that way because they often do have and will. Like, I mean, we can all name a couple. Some of them really broke my heart that really were out here doing stuff like that to people because they have power, and the other person should feel honored that you're even in the room with me, right? Like, this is like a reoccurring thing that has happened. We can talk Bill Cosby, we can talk about whoever we want to talk about, right? And Trey Songz is just another one, unfortunately, that literally keeps doing this to women, specifically Black women, and it's really sickening. And I'm really like, I don't know. If I think about it too much, I'm gonna start crying, to be honest, because I'm just
like, there's no way to justify that. And
yeah,
like people like him will continue to try to use like their status to do that because, like you said, it has been done before. So they're thinking that they're not going to be the exception to that rule. Like, it just keep happening. So honestly, like if we would have nipped this in the bud with Keke Palmer, like hopefully this wouldn't have even happened. But here we are.
Yeah.
I did want to bring in, because I've been thinking about this, the nature of a Black man's sexuality since this whole thing like began, right? Trey Songz, we know he has nasty songs. He is the epitome. I think right now, he is the epitome of a Black sexualized man. I don't think our generation has one. You could like tell me if I'm wrong. One in that nature, in the way that to that extent. And I was thinking about we know that Black people in general, but Black people are over sexualized, and I think about a lot about how sometimes we internalize that over sexualization. My thought is, Trey Songz could have found someone who was down for this, who was down to be have their phone taken away, to be peed on, he could have found someone who that is their kink. But instead of checking, like I think with this before, but instead of checking with, as you do with when you have sex, like, oh, what are you into? What are you not into? Instead of, having the doing the bare minimum, he decided to take it upon himself to impose that. And, it's only the thing we allow men to do, especially men who we think are attractive, especially men who have social status and power, especially those men, when they encroach upon our space, we let it happen. When they, violate something, because, they're cute, because they're them, because they're, and we justify our heads. But I really am thinking about, who does our sexuality belong to? Is this a product of him being the sex symbol of his generation? I'm not trying to, disclaimer, I'm not a Trey Songz stan. I'm not trying to justify I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to think about, where this sits in the higher frame of us as Black people and then us as the world. Because one thing that was very interesting to me was a lot of the backlash, it kind of pissed me off. A lot of the backlash was not about what he did to this woman. It wasn't about, the controlling aspect of it. It was about, oh, you like getting your booty licked? Or you like this, you like that? And I that was so interesting to me. In the face of a woman saying, my phone was taken away, I didn't know, blah, 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 of describing a intimidating sexual situation, the response was, oh, he like his booty licked? And it is so interesting to me that, like, what do you guys think about that? Because that it blows my mind truly. Because first of all, as long as it's consensual, he can do whatever he wants with whoever he wants, whenever he wants, as long as everyone.
Yeah.
I think
y'all like kids, y'all like kids.
Right. That's
right. He has that ability, okay?
Listen, here's my
of R. Kelly for me though. That peeing stuff is a little too reminiscent of R. Kelly. So everything else is like
I feel like a lot of rich men, that's what they want to do now. I feel like I'm hearing that a lot.
It's taboo.
That rich men, people with money, people with power like to pee.
Like them some golden.
And like to be peed on. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, they like those water games or whatever they're called. I was gonna say that I feel like the answer to your question is twofold. I feel like the first thing to touch on is that, okay, we already talked about how Black women trauma and victimization is trivialized. So I feel like, it is interesting but not surprising the fact that people, gravitated more toward, making a spectacle of Trey Songz like sexual habits versus the victimization of the Black women involved in this situation. So again, yes, very interesting that people did that, but not that surprising considering that Black women's, trauma is often trivialized. And even to, their situation wasn't dire. No one, wasn't as dire as other situations, wasn't as dire as other situations. No one, no one was per se, had to go to a hospital. No one was, physically assaulted to, the point where they needed medical attention. Nobody was, shot or died. However, people trivialize, Black women, being, physically assaulted, shot or dying all the time. That's a common occurrence in this country. Is just that, again, like, Black trauma is, not taken as seriously as other, non Black people's trauma. And then again, to answer the other part of your question, I feel like the reason why people were making a spectacle of Trey Songz and his, sexual preferences is because, sexuality and things of that nature are very taboo in this country and not often talked about in a way that they should be talked about with the mature, I feel like mature sense of the word, because it's like, a lot of the things that you were mentioning before are still considered taboo in this country. Even adults have, a hard time having serious conversations about things of that nature. And then, making light of two consenting adults engaging in practices like that. And it's just like, that kind of shows, as a country, as a society, how, taboo we still view these different sexual things. Again, at the end of the day, it's nobody's business, but when this stuff comes out, it's just like, why people are making more of a spectacle of something that is no one's business, that doesn't really matter, that is very irrelevant to a situation, versus someone could have been seriously hurt, somebody was became a victim. And I think that just goes to show that, as a society, and then also as a Black community, it's just like, sexuality, intercourse thing, a lot of different things that go into that are just not talked about in a way that is conducive to making people understand and making things less taboo. Because it's not something that people don't do. A lot of people know that these things happen. A lot of people know that this is what people enjoy, like to do, or whatever. But the sad part is, it's just like, people still think this is like a taboo, or culturally, socially unacceptable. And it's just like, it doesn't matter. Who cares?
I have an alternate theory as to why more was made out of Trey Songz' sexual habits than what actually went on. And I think that, like, for first and foremost, I think like the majority of the people who are talking about this are Black. Like, I don't see a lot of white people talking about this situation. And one thing about Black people is that we're gonna crack some jokes when a situation is serious. Like, you seen that when we thought we was going into World War III, like the jokes were flying. Like when we thought niggas was about to get deployed. Like we saw it when Trump became president. We thought niggas was about to get deported.
Well,
like
Twitter doesn't hold back on the jokes.
Black Twitter will stay ready. If that's one thing that Black Twitter will do, is that they will stay ready with some memes and some jokes.
Ready.
And I feel like in this particular situation, the jokes were convenient because it shifted away from the seriousness and the severity of the situation, and that as a country, as a society, as a culture, we don't like talking about sexual assault. We don't like talking about sexual misconduct, just like we don't like talking about racism. And so I feel that because making jokes like lighten the situation, and because that's just what we do, during times like these, during situations like these, where like we should be a little bit more serious and we should offer a little more nuance to a situation. I think that's like, you know, that is our defense mechanism. And in a way, it's kind of like our like, we know that some shit is fucked up, and so we would rather laugh it off than like, you know, be sad about it or like, you know, cry about it, basically. So I think that like the narrative like shifted, and again, that's why I hated that Trey Songz posted that screenshot, because as soon as I saw that part about, you know, him liking whatever he liked, I knew that was going to be the new topic of conversation, and I knew it was going to come in just as swiftly as the conversation centered around him being a sexual predator. Like, I knew it was, that situation was going to take a back burner to like, oh shoot, Trey Songz like, what now? He likes to do what to people? He likes what being done to him? So I think that until we can really like confront that as a people, like until we can really sit down and say like, all right, like not everything warrants a joke, not everything warrants a meme. Until we can do that, like it's going to keep happening. Like we're going to keep finding situations within situations that are funny, and we're going to highlight them because that's just what we do.
I do.
I think.
Sorry. Can I go real quick? I don't want to like talk too much. Y'all know I could talk.
Talk over black women.
I'm sorry.
It'll be quick. It'll be quick. I don't have a lot to say because Peyton and Marissa said a lot. But I just want to say that the tone of the initial conversation, I think, I'm not going to say set the tone for all the conversations that came out of that, but it was definitely different hearing their tone, the way they're speaking about the situation versus basically every other sexual predator type exposure that I've ever seen before, really. Like, I'm not going to say they were making light of it, but they definitely weren't taking it, or they didn't see it as serious as I felt like I did and the people that I, you know, have around me and on my social media did, right? So I'm not going to say that, because I feel like if people aren't taking it seriously themselves, then that leaves a lot of room for other people not to take it as seriously, right? So I just wanted to point that out. And it was weird. And also, like, the interviewer had to basically pry the fact that it wasn't consensual out of them. And not that that is wrong or uncommon, because it's not, but just the way they were talking about it and the it's lit part, like, I don't know. It was confusing to me. Like, I know over all things, that's not consensual. That's not okay, because I'm educated and I've decided to learn about stuff like this. But if somebody was just seeing this off the bat and they're not concerned about it and they don't care and they're like, it's whatever. Like, it was lit. I just wanted it for the dick. You know, it's weird. It's all I'm saying.
Can I say something real quick, Travis? Like, I know you want to say something, but like, just directly, like, for that, and that's why I feel like this conversation needs more nuance, because I think that we can kind of get a sense that, like you said earlier, this is like their scene. Like, this isn't like their first encounter with like somebody of influence, somebody with money like that. And I think the real reason, and I think something that we should look into, is like, why are they so casual about this? Because
I was just about to say that. I meant to say it, but I forgot. But go ahead.
I don't think y'all ready for that conversation.
I think that
no, I'm ready.
So many times that they probably are numb to it, and I feel like people shouldn't judge their demeanor and the way they talk about it as, oh, well, you know, they're not taking it seriously, because you have to think, like, maybe the first time that something like this happened to them, they probably tried to say something and they probably tried to have their voices heard, but it fell on deaf ears. So they probably thought, well, okay, maybe this is normal. And so it kept happening and kept happening and kept happening. And so now it's just like, yeah, like he tried to do this one time. Like, that was so funny. Like, what? So I think that like this type of discussion, like it deserves that amount of nuance, like, and it deserves like that type of context. So Travis, I'll let you talk. I know you.
Real quick, Travis, this is like a 2-second comment.
I'm gonna let you finish, but
I know.
Never mind.
This 2-second comment is just like,
sorry, Travis. Guess
about how, like, you know, being like numb to sexual trauma is like has become standardized to some people. I was like, how are we not ready to have that conversation yet? And then also, America grooms sexual predators, period. America grooms sexual predators, period.
Rich,
And I feel like a
white,
lot of people are not ready to have that conversation.
Sexual predators, period.
Period. Like, it does. Our country grooms sexual predators. And people are not ready to have that conversation because, one, people have become so numb to that. It's become so standardized that it happens and people don't even realize it. And two, if people have to come to terms with something like that, we have an even bigger problem on our hands. It's like, oh, now that we understand the problem, how do we go about fixing it? And I feel like a lot of people aren't ready to have that conversation yet because it's just like they don't want to accept that our country grooms sexual predators. But go ahead, Travis.
I'm gonna say two things. I agree, America grooms, sexual predators, but I don't want to put my Hotep hat on, but I do think that Black people aren't allowed to get away with the sexual predator things that America teaches them in the same way.
I disagree. And let me tell you why. Black people aren't allowed to deal with them in the same way that it looks for white people if they're just regular Black men of power. But the Black family structure grooms sexual predators. You cannot tell me otherwise because I know it from personal experience, friend experiences, all of that. I know that to be a fact.
You're right.
But go ahead.
Sorry. I'm wrong.
You waited all that time to be checked.
That wasn't my point. Okay. The point I was going to say was to go back on Peyton's point. I want to just say, with the Black Twitter and jokes and things, I love a Black Twitter joke myself because it's hilarious. But I think about stop it. They're hilarious. When World War, III was a possibility, when certain things were happening, the stakes are incredibly high, right? It's a world war. My family, someone I love can die, right? I can be torn away from my friends, my mother, my father. I can be it's dire. It's literally life or death. It's extreme. I don't think this warrants the same extreme in that way. So in the same way where, we use the humor to cope with the things we can't handle. This is not on that level to me. This is not so elevated where it's beyond our comprehension.
Oh, it's definitely not justified. Not at all.
Yeah. But for me, it's more, it's more justified when it is, crazy things that we can't comprehend. But when it's this, I mean, Trey Songz, I'll be honest, he doesn't really influence our day-to-day lives. I'm not, he's not, no one's going to die. I mean, nah. But it doesn't influence the everyday person in the same way that some of these bigger things does. And that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't, and I just wanted to clarify, I wasn't saying that, we make jokes in the same way because the situations are similar. I was saying that despite this being something that is not funny, that is not hilarious, that should not be made a joke out of, we still tend to do that anyways, because my point was that we want to talk as little about sexual misconduct, sexual assault, sexual violence as possible. And so to shroud that, we make jokes and we try to lighten the mood in order to shy away from that conversation. And that absolutely needs to stop happening.
Do you think that Trey Songz knows about kind of, I guess, the culture on social media and he kind of shifted the conversation to be more focused on his kinks on purpose, or do you think that he was just kind of really being a dumbass and just
I wouldn't put it past him to do that on purpose. I don't know if it was on purpose or not because I don't know his mental capacity, but if I was in trouble for something, I think I would post something that would make me a little less in trouble.
Let's not forget that he had
that did not do that.
Yeah, a whole team behind him of publicists saying what his different strategies and counter strategies could be if certain things were to pop off on social media. So it's not just a Trey Songz post on his social media. No, he has a team behind all of this. I feel like a lot of things are a lot more calculated than the public knows. And I feel like even when it seems like something that could be so trivial as him just posting some nonsense, there could be some intention behind it, regardless if people are paying attention to it or not. And so, I definitely agree with Nala. I wouldn't put it past anybody, because if he was in trouble, if he thinks this is his best move or if his team thinks it's his best move, yeah. But it's it might not have just been a Trey Songz decision. It could have been multiple people behind, that post.
I agree. Thinking about, sorry, real quick.
I don't think. Okay. I just looked on not his Instagram, his Twitter, where he originally posted the messages, and the tweet has since been deleted. So his PR team probably said nope, and so that I don't think that was on purpose. That was not by design, and he did that because it was fresh and it was news, and he wanted to like get something out there. But I think ultimately his team was like, no, we do not need that. But go on.
Oh. Never mind.
I mean, I thought that's just in general, though. It's just like, a lot of these posts that people put on social media, these celebrities, it's not just it's not always just a celebrity making like a rash decision to post something. Sometimes there is like a team of people behind it, even if it's like a very trivial post. Like it may seem very, like,
you're right, Marcia. You're right.
It seem like very nonsensical, very trivial, very irrelevant, but it's just like there's some intention behind it, and it might not necessarily just be at
Marcia, you're right.
the decision of
I mean, he posted something else, but this was like a situation in Miami, which is like different from the two women that were on the podcast and different from Keke Palmer. So I don't know why he keeps shooting himself in the foot like this, but he said, y'all remember the Jane Doe who claimed I sexually assaulted her in Miami? This is on Twitter, by the way. She wants me to pay for her therapy and the rest of her school because of, quote, all the trauma she's been through. And he has screenshots of like some Instagram DMs that are really long that I'm not really going to get into.
Yeah, but with that,
but
we have to wrap it up.
That does not clear his name. But yes, Travis.
We have to wrap it up. So thank you for all the viewers for watching. We appreciate you, getting in, comment down below, suggestions of future episodes, a quick final thing. Bye guys.
And then for the podcast. Bye.
Abolish the police.
Please.
Get out there and vote. Get out there and vote. Y'all better vote now.
Okay. All right.
Bye.